Hey folks, hope everyone had a great Christmas. It's time for a bit of a look back at what's been going on and a bit of an update of what's coming, and also a bit of a confession. This is my second attempt because I'm just shooting on a GoPro and it was pretty windy this morning, so hopefully this can be a bit better. For those of you who are new to the channel, Joe and I bought this farm nearly 2 years ago, and we are on a long-term mission to make this our forever home, build our amazing house here and kind of just put our roots down. That all comes after spending nearly 10 years restoring and renovating a big old period home down in Somerset. And anyway, this last year has been the ups and downs, as a lot of you will know, of getting closer with the planning permission. But first of all, let's have a look back at what we've got done this year, because as frustrating as it is that we can't actually start the house build quite yet, we've made the most of the year. So here's a look at the cabin build. So the priority right at the beginning of the year was to make the cabin weather tight. It held up okay with just the membrane, but of course with the cold weather coming and the fact that we needed to start on the interior fit out, we needed to get everything airtight, insulated and warm. And by getting the windows in and insulated, taped up, it meant that we could get a bit of heat in there, which was so nice to have. Then we went about getting all of the ceiling boards painted and fitted, so that created our big open plan area. Once we'd done most of the stuff that needed ladders and banging around, we could get the flooring down. The painting had already happened at this point, so we knew that it was kind of, we were on the home straight. This is LVT, it was the dry click together LVT. We'd be really pleased with it actually, and just the fact that it's got that foam layer has been really warm underfoot with the insulation under there as well. Then we did our bit of a bedroom makeover. So this was a feature wall that went in, and then painting. We kind of tried to challenge ourselves in different ways. So this was a one-day makeover for the full bedroom. And of course, it was also the moment that Joe decided to pour the paint all the way down her. Then the big moment, we'd already had the kitchen delivered and it was sat there in boxes ready, but we were able to start installing. So we'd already painted, the flooring was ready and waiting to kind of tuck under all the units. So it was quite a nice install in that everything, it was a real blank canvas install. We went with a solid wood top, we went with maple. That was okay, it hit the budget and it's given us a nice finish, but it definitely cements our opinion that we definitely want to go back to granite or quartz in the main house in the future. But it all fit really nicely, and it's so nice to have a working kitchen here. Then we did the bathroom. The bathroom, fairly simple again, but working with the space that we had, managed to fit the bath in there, vanity unit, sink, and it's all looking tidy now, and it's been a really useful space to have that, as well as the additional toilet nearer the other end of the cabin. Then our feature wall, loved this project, and it's probably the biggest talking point when people come into the cabin. Getting all this cedar, we dried it out a fair amount in the barn over the year, and then we brought it in for a month and we had heat and everything and the windows open, so it was fairly dry once it went up, and it's held up really nicely, and we planed all of that as well, so really pleased with how that turned out. And then of course we had to turn our attention to the outside and get this building finally clad. I bought the budget cladding at an auction. It needed a fair bit of work with the router table, managed to get it all fitting nicely, and then went about getting it all done. And yes, it's January in a week's time and I'm still not completed on the cladding. There's one a little bit to do around the patio doors. We did another feature wall on the far end and on the near end as well, so the north and south walls are vertical and then horizontal cladding on the sides. So that was kind of the first half of the year, getting the cabin finished, moving in, being able to live here on site, which made a huge difference, and all of that was kind of made possible by the fact that we got one of our planning application designs approved. Now we originally set ourselves a sort of 1 year target, spend the first year to get planning. In reality, it took about 18 months. Now, we could have probably got planning a little bit sooner had we just gone for a really simple bare bones design right from the beginning. But for us, it made sense to at least attempt to get something approved which we wanted to build. We then now ended up with something that we don't really want to build, and it's just a stepping stone to another application. Anyway, this is less about the ins and outs of planning applications, but more about what's coming up in the next year, because whatever happens, we need to start the house build this year, and we're super excited. I mean, it is literally the build of a lifetime for us. It might take a lifetime, to be honest. It's going to take everything we've got, all the experiences we've got, and all the time and energy we can muster, because the budget is pretty non-existent. The budget is very low, but hopefully time and energy will be high. The support from you guys, the advice that we can get through the videos, and being able to share more content will hopefully mean that you and us, we can all wade through this together. Anyway, back to what's been going on in the last 12 months. Well, we haven't just been sat around. One thing we were quite proactive in doing is when we moved to the farm, we started a conversation with National Grid. One was to sort out some old way leaves on the land, but also we had all these overhead cables which were no longer going to their intended destination. So they're left over from, you know, last century. They were all still live, but they just didn't need to be in those positions. So we managed to agree a new plan with them, and those things take time. So I'm glad we did that while we weren't building. That meant everything was removed away from the barn, away from our buildings, and we were able to, if providing we did the groundwork, we were able to get all of it trenched underground. So yes, that we still have plenty of overhead lines further on down the fields, but nothing now up near the new house and near the cabin building. So that's been an amazing result. And then as it started to warm up, it was time to do a bit of a spontaneous 1 to 2 week project, which was to convert this old parlour, which is the old milking part of the old dairy farm. Decided to strip some of the paint off the brickwork. Unfortunately, it's stubborn stuff, this, and also the paint stripper contained a very, very potent something or other that bees did not like. It was meant to be a natural one, but a sort of a natural paint stripper, but whatever it was, bees did not like it, and it made for some somewhat amusing content, and Jo made sure to feature it in far too many of her posts and reels. Now the inside fit out was a little bit more straightforward and less bees. I decided to paint throughout. I chipped off some of the old render, and in the future we will do a full restoration on this building because it's lovely brick building, got some old timbers in the other half of it, but for now I decided to put up a flat ceiling. So rather than maintain the vaulted ceiling, which was full of rat poo and it was horrible, I used some of these reclaimed roof timbers and put them across to create a flat ceiling. Now rather than put all of our boards underneath them, we decided to put them on top. That created a bit of a loft space above, which has actually turned out really handy. Hopefully it's going to look like a nice little space for people to come and pick up their orders. Also means taking photos of bits and bobs and just general social media stuff. It's a nicer place to photograph and film. Now we've got to sort out our freezers. At the moment we've got 4 or 5 different freezers in there. We're going to either look at getting a bigger walk-in freezer or perhaps a couple of vertical catering industrial freezers. But for now, we've got to use what we've got and just accept that it's a bit of a pain, keep monitoring all the temperatures and the electricity bill. And then in the summer, as the weeds started to take over down on our little lake, we managed to get a company in to pull all that out, to start working on all the roots and basically all the silt that built up, and it's like a compost heap at the bottom of this lake now. So all of that could start being dug out, and we're hopefully gonna bit by bit improve the quality of the water there, both for the fish and for us. And there's a lot of fallen trees, so another thing to do in the spring is going to be to clear out a few of those. And then of course Audrey the tractor arrived, so we had to invest in our own tractor after borrowing some kit over the first year that we had here. And this old Massey 135 was the answer, so I've got to grips with the bare basics of the mechanics, and she's up and running and being a helpful addition to the field work and kind of getting around the fields. End of the summer I decided to take out these feed barriers, and that just opened up the space. You know, they're not part of the existing floor plan or anything like that, so there was no issue taking them out. It's not part of the barn conversion, but it did help us by getting a bit more space in there. We threw a bit of a party, but mainly it's just a clear space that we can store things for now, or where as and when the build starts we can move materials in. Now, back in May we removed some of the concrete sleepers that surround the cabin, and we were able to repurpose them in the late summer to sort out our crossing that goes through the brook and up the other side. Fortunately, Craig's got all the kit for that sort of thing, so rather than trying to fork them down on the back of the tractor and wrestle them in place with the mini digger we had, Craig was able to place them in, and we managed to sort out that. It took far more of these than we thought, so I think we probably still need another 10 or 15, so I'll keep my eye out and see if we can snag a few more, because it is definitely the way to go for getting this crossing sorted. And also the endless stuff around the farm. Now, that has predominantly been put on the farm channel, DIY Farm, and we're not really short of content there. There's always stuff going on, whether it's day-to-day chores, whether it's livestock, fencing, gates, land management. You know, that just is life now, and that goes on, and we could make a video a day because there's always enough there. The problem I've had, and the bit of a, I don't know if I call it burnout, but with the restoration couple, we're always sharing projects, and if you don't have a project, then it's very hard to share a video without just coming up with something for the sake of it. And we've given it our best shot of getting a few smaller projects done in the last few months, such as the barn and the farm shop and a few other bits. And there's some stuff out here on the land which will make more sense to put it on the channel, this channel, which will be the bridge build and a little jetty build and things like that. However, the predominant amount of stuff at the moment doesn't lend itself to being on the Restoration Couple channel. Let's make sure we keep tidy. The dog's wondering why we've done the exact same walk twice today in the last 2 hours. Anyway, so firstly, it's a bit of a, not an apology, but a bit of an update to say that's why recently it's not been our usual exciting big projects, simply because it's not there. We can't start the barn conversion until we know what we're building. If we start the approved plan, basically we're commencing work, and that's going to cause issues with any other applications. So we've got to sit on our hands. We can do a certain amount of research, planning, you know, look at materials and suppliers, but really we just want to get a spade in the ground or a digger at a wall, and we'll just have to be patient really. And that has meant that in some respects we've made the most of this year, and I always think things happen for a reason. Joe and I are quite content with the pace it's gone. It's been frustrating at times, but when we look back at it, if we got planning in the first few months, which might seem ideal, in actual fact we would have struggled to finish the cabin, bearing in mind we were needing that to live in. We would never have been able to get all this infrastructure done in the farm side of things, as far as fencing and water and gates and all those bits that now they're done. We can know that in the background, whilst we're building that house, that livestock is safe, fed, watered, things to secure, the infrastructure's there, that as and when we've got time we can be productive with our time out here rather than just chasing our tails. So it's a bit squelchy underfoot, but as we walk back up, one day in the not too distant future, in the next, well, a matter of weeks now, that is going to be one step closer to being home. So I said at the beginning of the video, there's a bit of a confession, and that is that behind the scenes, the last month has been really pretty hard work for me, knowing that we're kind of letting you guys down, not having exciting projects to share. And it's been okay on the farm channel, but here on the Restoration Couple, which, you know, is our heart and soul of what we do, it's just been a bit of a grind. And I don't mean that as far as we don't love doing it. We do love making the videos. It's just, it's far easier to get excited and make exciting content if you're enjoying what you're doing and you know where it's headed. Whereas we've just been in this limbo phase. But I am thrilled that we are edging closer to the big build, and it will be a matter of weeks now when we can start, you know, getting stuck in with the diggers, getting some demolition done, getting materials on site. There's just so much to do that we've been dreaming about for the last 2 years and years before that. How are we gonna transform this into our home? Sorry, wind's back again. Hopefully it's not too bad. The normal grind of farm life goes on, but it's so nice to be able to say that in the coming weeks we're going to be starting this barn conversion, and we know that means a lot of videos for you guys and a lot of proper DIY for us, which is what it's all about. Come on, Maggie. I'm sure it's hard to imagine for some of you, but soon this is going to be where all the action is going on, you know, minus a few goats being beaten up by the other goats, so he seems to just live a solitary, pampered life now. If anyone does want a pet goat, just let me know. He's not really fitting in with being a goat. He thinks he's a family member trying to get in the house all the time. I won't go without showing you a little bit of the inside. I mean, it's a mess. We're just kind of getting the Christmas decks down, not because we're, you know, Grinches, but because we've got people coming to stay. We need to put a blow-up mattress down there, so the Christmas tree had to come out, and we're getting a bit of breathing space before more people descend on the cabin. But you know what, it's felt okay, and it's been amazing to be here on the farm during Christmas. We obviously had piglets arriving, or due Christmas Day onwards, so we were here anyway because of that, and because it's easier to keep on top of everything while we were here. We did get away a little bit to see family, but there we go. The cabin is feeling pretty homely. There's lots to do that may or may not make videos. Some beams to get up, some little bits around the kitchen, and some snagging, but you know, that might happen while we're waiting. If the weather turns really cold, we'll dive in here, get a few bits of snagging done. And yeah, I mean, a lot of you will have followed this right from scratch, and it took a little bit longer, as all these things do, but for what we've achieved, I think we can pat ourselves on the back and say that it was a productive year, even if it wasn't from the planning front. As far as building this and finishing it and moving in, it worked out all right. Joe's just popped out with the girls, but from us to you, hope you all had a great Christmas and you're going to enjoy a nice new year. And while we had plenty we could have got on with, it's quite nice to have had a bit of a break from it. So apologies for maybe a bit of a quiet spell from the video front, but that's only because we know what's coming. So we're just taking a bit of a breather, then it's full action stations. Thank you for watching. Remember, as always, if you can, do it yourself. Don't get a goat that thinks it's a dog. See you next time.